Hey YouTube, how's it going? I'm on 5 minutes early just to make sure it worked. Hopefully the camera's been messing about the last couple of days, so I'm just going to buy another one. But if it does die, I've got standby webcam, so I'll just lower it from 1080 to 720 and be offline for a couple of minutes. Did I actually hit enter there? I did not. Did now. Cool. So stick in some... Hey Pontiac, Daniel. Hey Joe, I'm a wee bit early, so I'm just going to play the guitar for another, I think it's 3 minutes, and then I'll start talking. And just now you can try and think, how many sounds do you think this guitar has? Yeah. Hey Mackenzie, Big Malco the Goat. Don't know what that means. Maybe it means I'm really good on really steep surfaces. Hey JP! Oh, 2 minutes, we'll start talking just so I'm actually starting at 8. Pacifica, I will get on to that, yes. Hey David! You want to buy new pickups in your strap, but you want to keep the old ones too. That's one way of doing it. Still 1959. Hey Jazz. Yay! So that was a wee 5-minute intro. Now it's 8 o'clock, so I can now start drinking. Hey, yes. So Amy on Ditchington, and it is, as you say, Scorchio. Pacifica Tellies. I nearly bought one years ago, thinking, oh, it's Pacifica, but it's kind of telly shaped. So I was kind of expecting it to go for sort of 70, 80 quid, something like that on Gumtree, and it didn't. It went for like 200 odd, so I missed it. I was round at my pal Scott's house the other day, and he had we argued over when the catalogue was from. He had a Yamaha catalogue we got inside it was inside a record he bought, and it had Pacificas in it, but it also had RGX guitars, which I thought was the forerunner to the Pacifica, which I think it kind of was, but the Pacifica, when it first came out in whatever year that was, I think 1991, 92, something like that. Folks still had mullets, dressed like the 80s in the picture. But round about then, and there was a Pacifica telly and there was a Pacifica, and they were high numbers. So it was like a Pacifica 1200 and something. So it was like a £1,000 guitar. I think the following year or a couple of years later, that's when Pacificas came out as to replace the RGX, which were the ones that look like Ibanez RGs. But to answer the question, no, I've never seen one. I've never played one, but they are meant to be amazing. I don't know when they made them from. 2004, a 102S, that would make it. Oh, Telecaster layout as well, because 1 is the 1 series, so it's like this. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure the ERGs are 0, so there's a 0 series now. 1 series would be like the second cheapest season, and then 0 for number of humbuckers, none, and then 2 for 2 single coils. So it's probably actually telly laid out. I bet you it's really good. Don't really come across anything. I think there's not really anything I've ever had made by Yamaha that wasn't really good. Everything is like boat engines and lawnmowers, and my stereo's a Yamaha, and the guitars, although they might not look the most exciting, the Pacifica is not a super exciting looking guitar. They are fantastic. I think the Telecaster's it's definitely better looking. It's not quite a telly the way it's a little bit pointy, but pretty good. Hey, Ruben, cheers. Yeah, I need to do a proper thanks to everyone. I was going to write down a list, but I never did. Top of the list is my pal Dava help me kind of with the computer and stuff like that, doing the sort of technical aspects, plus comes up with far more ideas than I can. And Civet, who is just awesome. And then all you lot, is there other people who comment and stuff like that? It goes through stages. I think some people are talkable. Just now it's like Pontiac and Daniel and Blacktooth Fox and stuff that are doing all the talking, but I disagree. I think the Pacifica looks cooler than the Fenders. Possibly, yes. It's I don't know. I've got a thing with the Pacificas. I actually had a shot of one a couple of months ago, and it was a 600 series. Where it was what an amazing guitar! It had like a P90 in the neck and a splittable humbucker in the bridge with a 3-way switch and a coil split. And it's just kind of like the ultimate way of the best pickup layout to get. You get like the 2 single coils, and obviously this guitar does those sounds, but you have to dig a little bit deeper to get there. Taylor made music watching at band practice. I don't think you really want to be watching me at band practice. We could have a jam like E. Oh no! Yeah, so there's a song for you, and I'll just take money when you get it published. So hello, oh no, that's quite a good name for a band actually. I don't like it. There's a lot in the name of a band, whether it's going to be good or not. I almost joined a band. This is like after I'd been in bands and I was like kind of in the dry spell. I went in and tried out for a band that actually I got on really well with, but the band was called He Hates Us, and I thought that was a really bad name. I didn't like it at all. We'd lovely guys in the band though, but I didn't like the name. He Hates Us. I do like Oh No. That's a good name. What was the one I saw the other day that when I was in the studio? It was a tribute band for The Cult. There was a Scottish tribute band called The Kilt, which I thought was really good. It's like almost to the point of, would I go and see them? I don't really know any Cult songs. I know a couple, sort of. There's probably half a dozen I've heard on the radio and stuff like that. Not a huge fan, but they're called The Kilt, so that's kind of worthy of going along. I see it. Oh no. Oh no, the support band. Oh no, the headliners are on next. Yeah, I can see. There's lots of different ways you could use that. Obviously, it'd be great for singles, for naming songs, and oh no, a live album. It's like, man, you're gonna have great fun with thinking up band names. I mean, I'm assuming the band's good and you all got on as well. That's secondary to having a pure great name. Hey Craig, how's it going? Yeah, just I think it's really finding it bizarre. See, when I was when I put up the 2,000 subs picture, it was people had never I didn't recognise their names and were saying, "Oh, well done" and stuff like that. And it's like, I forget that there's two. Oh no, no again. So that's your first EP. So that's like a joke because obviously it'd be oh no, no again. Aye. No, but what I found was bizarre was like I know it's like 2,000 people is an awful lot of people, and I don't think I've ever even played a gig to that many people. And it's like, and most people, I never comment on other people's YouTube videos. So the people who comment, there's more of you, and every one of you is a human being who chooses to be here, which is really humbling and amazing. Yeah. Oh no, no again. Oh no. Let's get 4 tracks. Oh no, there's once I win the Bucky, ask me again for things that have got oh no in the title. I'm sure there's lots of great ones. Seen a couple of Pacifica Tellies for sale over the last few weeks. One had a price tag around 900, or I was around 200. Well, I know which one I would be likely to go for. You might find that the 900 is a much higher number though. That's the same with Pacificas. You know, if you've got like a 600, a 612, which looks the same as a 312, but a 312 is like 300 quid new and a 600 quid new. So although they look the same, everything's just a bit better. You paid 30 quid for a Pacifica Telly, I'll give you double that for it. It's like, I don't think the Pacifica Tellys were more expensive new than a normal Pacifica at the time. I think would you say it was a 102? It's probably about the same price as a 112, as the more Stratty shaped one. It just, for whatever reason, never really took off. I think there's still there's a guy, I'm sure it's, am I getting them mixed up with someone else? I think there's a really famous Telecaster player. When I say really famous, he's been on lots of recordings and he plays music I don't know anything about. But he's like a well-renowned session-y guy or something, or he plays with country bands, or one of these folk that plays with, Robbie Williams, and I'm now going through that Pete, what's his face? Danish Pete. But that kind of guy who's been on thousands of albums, but he's a sort of session-y touring guitarist. I'm sure he still makes a Telecaster. He still gets a Telecaster Yamaha in the catalogue, but I'm not sure. Hey, guitar god by the name of Bob. Thanks for the cheers. I'm having a wee drink to celebrate. I'll hopefully not get too drunk this week and maybe not start talking about politics. Don't ask me about politics. You start asking for you got an RGX A2. I'm molested for 260. That's not bad. I think annoyingly, I think that's actually what I sold the last one for. The one that had the light bulbs in it. It wasn't completely unmolested though, but they're fantastic guitars. But it's totally worth it. I mean, I said this before about the mod thing. I can make a mod that puts a light bulb into the other control, but definitely put a push-pull pot in on the volume control to coil split those pickups because it sounds awesome. Does it sound better than the Ares humbuckers? Possibly. It's like not a pure. Oh no, not as good as humbuckers. No, they are because they're like big P90 shaped sort of humbuckers. It's like a big coil, so it's actually quite a powerful single coil, but it's definitely worth putting a dual coil split in. Great. Hold on, Neon Tetrahedron. Oh, good. The Elderly Brothers, that's pretty good. I like that. Good tribute band names. I've seen a couple that were just fantastic. I can't think of the other ones. There's one that's on the poster next to the one with the kilt. It's one of the ones that plays in Glasgow all the time. It's not Fleetwood Mac. I can't remember. How much are you paying for guitars? There's a Westone eBay £200, an Ariel Pro 200 plus. Nice Ibanez 325. I genuinely have not been buying really very many guitars for myself. That kind of price though is where I'm going for, like the Westones, the ones that I'm actually buying for myself. Most of the time I'm buying guitars, just off Gumtree that I can put stupid amount of pickups in and sell on basically to fund more guitars for me, but kind of round about that price. Westone, just be wary of the ones that the ones that aren't the ones that look like BC Rich, because they're not Westones. They are Westones. The logo's the same, but they're like just Chinese. They're made of MDF. They're not great guitars. If you can pick one up for 50 quid, then yeah, totally fine for 50 quid. But I mean, if it's more than that, an Aria Pro's just been going forever. You get my favorite Aria Pros are the Japanese ones the sort of budget end of the Japanese ones, because obviously when you get to the higher end Japanese ones, the ones that do cost £1,000, you know, it's through neck, active circuitry, made of walnut and, you know, gold, you know, proper super expensive ones. But the cheaper ones, the more basic ones, are still built to an incredibly high standard. It's just they don't have any binding, and they've just painted, basically something like my laser, which I was playing the other day, which I don't want to touch the camera. So things like that. That was kind of one of the reasons I bought that, because that's my first Westone. That's one of the fancy ones. So it's like a top of the range Westone at the time, whereas all the other ones I've got are all, you know, pretty basic, just simplistic, but not in a bad way. Simplistic's good. I mean, look at like a Les Paul Jr. or like even an SG. It's just like, it's a simple one. It doesn't have very many bits, but all the bits are really good, and we put them together really well, rather than having thousands of bits that we just went, yeah, and passed it out to, you know, sent it out to the shop. Hey. Okay, cheers, Andrew. I still got to fix your guitar. Not to be fair, I've not been in Rutherglen at all. I had to come over and fix it. Yes, I was talking about Peter Honore. Just when I said that the guy in the Yamaha catalogue was one of those folk that's played with hundreds of bands and stuff like that. He's like a touring musician, so he wasn't actually in the band, but he may have, do you know what I mean? No Way Sis. Yes, I've heard. I've met them. I have no idea why, but they were all obviously, they all had the right haircuts and they all had the shell suits on. That was maybe, I don't know how many years ago that was, 20 years ago. No Way Sis. I didn't see. Oh. JP Paul Who Ticks. Missed that one. Yeah, and the expensive bit, it's actually just putting in the cost button's not difficult. It is difficult putting in the light bulb in below the rotary selector, because you've got to kind of Dremel out part of the switch so you can get the bulb to stick through it, and it's just really fidgety and annoying. But the actual coil split thing's easy. You just put a push-pull pot in, and the wires have already got the extra, the two extra wires. When you get a pickup, you've got like the sort of hot, you get the earth, and you get the two wires that are joined together. Well, all you do is you take those two wires that are joined together, stick them onto the switch, and then put earth at the top of the switch, and do that for each pickup. That will dual coil split both of them. 2,000 subs, you should get an end terrace council house with a hot tub. Be nice, yes. I'm not making any money, I'll be honest. I actually did set up a Patreon, but I've not told anyone about it yet or put anything on it. It's like, I don't want to just stick hundreds of adverts on it. It keeps annoying me when I'm watching other people's videos and they've just got adverts every 10 seconds. So I get the adverts put on, and then I go through and take 8 of the 10 out. And any time I've let it slip, I get complaints, too many adverts. It's like, yeah, but that's why I'm not getting any money. I should really have adverts and sponsors and stuff like that. But see what happens. Oh, the Bucky's going down very well tonight. I think it always does. Jeff, content, the expensive one did look pretty upmarket in comparison to the cheaper one. I love my tellies, but the Pacifica just didn't float my boat. Yeah, the problem with the really expensive Yamahas is you don't get your money back on them. Well, you can buy them cheap, but it's like you'll end up sitting there with a guitar that you paid £400 for that's better than anything you can buy for 1,500 quid. And it's like a Pacifica, so you don't really want it, but you don't want to sell it for 400 quid because it's miles better than, like, you know, your any Fenders or Gibsons at that sort of price. It's like it's a different league. It looks like the Yamaha Pacifica. Obviously, it's shinier and it's nicer, and it's, you know, it'll have Seymour Duncans or whatever, but it still kind of looks like the cheap one that all schools have. Well, it didn't when I was at school, but from then on. Phil, you could have been the 2000 sub. I looked up the 2000 sub. It went pretty quickly from 2000. It took me ages to get from like 1985 to 2000. And then as soon as I hit 2000, I'm up at 2020 or 2019. But not everyone lets you see. There's something, I've never clicked it. There's some option somewhere where I don't know who's subscribed. So I looked at it, and the last subscription I had was like from a YouTube channel like about 2 weeks ago. So it's like, I think if I subscribe as Mad Malco Guitars, it'll come up if I subscribe to your channel. But apart from that, I don't think you can. It's like there's a privacy thing you can probably turn off. Westtone Thunder 1, 1984. Woodstained one sold 207. That's cheap. That's cheap for a Thunder. They're normally, well, I don't know. See, I think they go through spurts of like somebody puts one online for 600 quid or something like that, and then lots of people see it and go, "Here's a Westtone Thunder for 600 quid. I'll sell mine." So they try and sell theirs for 500 quid, and then these sort of sit there, and then nobody buys them. So maybe when you actually put things in, like in an auction, you can get bitten. I mean, I would be pretty annoyed if I had a Westtone Thunder 1 and I only got 207 quid for it, especially if it's on eBay, because it's 207 minus 30 quid's fees and stuff like that. So, and you've got to find a box for it, and you've got to worry that when you post it, the person who's on the other end of the eBay thing is decent, because they might very much go, "Got the guitar. It's exactly as described. It's exactly what I wanted. But I think I'll just moan anyway." So they go, it's like, "Oh, there's a bit of fading on it. Do you give me 50 quid refund?" And then you're in that whole thing. And then if you don't do that, then eBay just let them keep the guitar, and then you lose all the money. So it's like, there's a lot of problems in that. That's basically why I sell on Marketplace whenever I can, because at least then you're dealing with people and you don't have, and it's like the whole, "Here's your guitar. That's fine. If you get it home and there's something not happy with it, I'll fix it," or whatever. That's different, but it's not like this whole, "I've got you over a barrel. I'm going to take advantage of this situation, try and get money off." It's like, it doesn't work. But I think I've seen prices for those 80s Japanese going down online. Maybe have I waited too long to sell them? I don't know. I have noticed that the more popular models, like the Thunder would be one of them, they tend to be more expensive, whereas something like that goes for much cheaper than a Thunder, even though Thunder's like the entry-level one, or the Thunder 1's the entry-level, then the 2's medium, and then the 3's the high one. That's the equivalent of a 3, but it's way less. It's the same price as a 1 because nobody knows what that one is. It's a Prestige 227. Basically the same sort of thing, as though it's got a carved top. And it's got hundreds of binding, and it's got an ebony fingerboard and other stuff. But I mean, if the Japanese prices are going down, which I can't find it, maybe they are. Mind you, you're in America, and I think America's things are slightly different than they are here. Japanese guitars are going up like mad, especially see like your Washburn Wings and stuff. There, easy going for 700-800 quid, or you see them for 700-800 quid. I'm assuming they're selling, which is a lot more than what I paid for them. I can't pay that amount of money for a guitar. I would rather have, for 700-800 quid, I'd buy 4 guitars, basically, for me. I'd buy 10 guitars. I'd end up with 4 for me, and then I would sell the other ones. I put the Pacificas as sound guitars, but somehow characterless. I know that's the problem with the Pacifica, but it's like, the thing is, if you're going to try and appeal to as many people as possible by making it inoffensive, whereas, something like just that Wave, that's only going to appeal to 20% of people, but they're going to pure love it, whereas the other 80% are not going to like it at all. Whereas once you get into the sort of middle bit where it's just kind of like everyone sort of likes it because there's nothing wrong with it, but because there's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing exciting about it that makes it fancy. Is that it? It's got really yucky Bucky. It's like, is that Bucky that you've fake Bucky? I remember buying what was it called? It was called Dunmore. It was a Scottish version of Bucky, which even had a yellow label and had a picture of Dunmore Castle on it, and it wasn't Bucky. It looked like it, but it wasn't. It wasn't the same. You've got. Never care about resale, but well, fair enough. And that, I know I don't really sell anything, so it's like the resale value thing does. It's just like the whole idea. I don't really buy new guitars. I bought my Yamaha 12-string acoustic, and I think before that, the previous new guitar I bought was my Epiphone. The Epiphone EBO, which I bought in '98. I think about the Epiphone SG in '97 and my other Yamaha, because I've maybe only ever bought 4 new guitars, just because you can get, especially now that I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit, I'll just buy a used one that's got bits missing and fix it. Was Joy Division using Sure Tone or something? Not sure. Sure Tone. It was West Tone we're talking about, I think. It could very much be a name, though. It very much could be. Yeah. I just bought a Kirk Hammett LTD. Locking Nuts trim supposed to be not good. I think it's pretty good. You don't know who it was that said the trim wasn't very good. It's kind of one of those things that's not that I can fault it, but you see it a little bit when we were talking about Peter Hanori and the Captain. Or we weren't talking about the Captain, we were talking about Peter Hanori earlier, and they are sitting in there and they're playing guitars that are $5,000 and stuff like that, like more than that. All these makes you've never heard of, and they're like, yeah, it's really cool, and then it's like, if you're used to playing lots of guitars at $5,000 and stuff like that, when you do pick up £150 Squire, you're not going to pure love it if you spend all day playing $5,000. Obviously, it's a cheap guitar, yes. What you can do with it's amazing. It's always like surprising what you can get. Something like this. I mean, just a Squire Bullet. It's totally fine, but it's not going to compare. Oh, my Strat's not on the wall anymore because I was using it at a party. It's not as good as a Japanese Fender Strat. It costs like, I don't know, a fifth or sixth or 10th as much, so it's not as good. But I mean, percentage wise, it's totally fine. I would gig this. I'd play it no problem. I do know Kirk Hammett is the guy from Metallica who's not James Hetfield. He's the wah-wah guy, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, Trems are fun. I've never had an LTD that wasn't really good. I don't really like the look of LTD guitars. A lot of bands at Download were using them, but they are fantastic guitars. It was an SG one I nearly kept, but I just couldn't get over the melt. It was like an SG, but it was like an offset, like a jazz bass. Apart from it was an SG, so it just looked wrong. I had a Telly at one point as well, which was pretty good. And you don't know who's stringing up these guitars, whether they can play. It's like, I bought one and it was rubbish. Maybe they got a bad one, or maybe they bought it and went, I'm going to put 14s on it. So they put 14 strings on it and the bridge was all over the place. Well, yeah, unless you're going to seriously rework the Floyd Rose, you can't go from like whatever the strings were on it to 14s or 8s. So you've got to put and just being set up properly makes such a big difference. Oh, I'm trying to get caught up. Sure Gold, maybe Bernard Summer using them early days. Sure Gold. So what are West Tone Thunders worth? I think they go for £250. There's different Thunders. You get like a 1, which is the bolt-on neck, a 1A, which is a bolt-on neck, but it's got an active circuit in it. Kind of wouldn't pay any extra for the active circuit. If it's the same price, I would take the one with the active circuit in it. But the problem, I actually sold my pal Ronnie. It was a 1985 one, and it had the active circuit, and I fixed the active circuit and gave it and sold it to him, and he was like, the problem with the active circuit is, why would you ever turn it off? Because it sounds better when it's on. So it's like, and it uses 2 9-volt batteries, which run down really quickly. I keep hearing that about West Tone Thunders because it's like old technology. If you're using it all the time, the batteries run out. It's 18-volt active circuit. I've got a similar active thing in my Washburn G15. It's got like I think it's a Clapton mid boost on a knob, and it's like you turn it on and then you put it up to full bung, and really it just sounds better. So even if you try rolling it down, it just doesn't sound as good, or you turn it off, it doesn't sound as good. So it's like, it didn't really need a knob or a switch, it just needed to be on all the time. It just made the guitar sound better. There seem to be loads on eBay that are shipped from America with big postage costs. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, West Tone Thunders, maybe because they're starting to go up in price. I mean, I remember them being £100 all the time, like maybe 10 years ago. I remember not buying one for £80, even though it was in Kirky, because I thought, it's just like, what am I doing? It's like picking up a guitar like that. Even the Shergold, I know Shergold, they've got actually, I think it's a similar 2 pickup selector. Some of them have got a twin pickup selector-y type thing going on. They're mad looking guitars. They've got crazy, the headstocks are a funny shape, and they've got like rollers on them because they had the tuners are in stupid places, so they've got rollers for each one, so you get a straight string pull. I keep hearing bad things about them because, well, actually, I'm reading about it in the toilet just now. I've got my 1982 guitar buyer's guide, and they were saying that the pickups were too powerful and the bridge wasn't a very good design or something. And it's all funny looking stuff. They're made in Britain, so they're kind of. I don't think it's easy. Just my strap bridge is a saddle miss. I'll just buy another one off eBay for 20 quid, put it in, bang, done. I don't think you can really do that. I think you need to alter stuff. Don't know. I do know. I've played a couple of Share Goals, and they're very nice. They're made of mad wood, like birch and beech and oak and all these sort of the wood you get in Britain, basically. Which I like the idea of. I think they went under years ago, though. They might have been rebought up by someone relatively recently. The video scene was a Gibson-ish single cut type of thing. Sort of, yeah. Caravan used them as well. They've got one that's kind of. How the heck do you describe it? The headstock's kind of like a Coke bottle. It kind of goes like that, and then it's got rollers for each one. And I'm sure there's one called a Masquerader, and stuff like that. Done more like done in after. There was actually my pal used to know someone who worked in one. Where was it? It was up on it was north of Pitlochry. No, it wasn't. It was south of Pitlochry, somewhere between the Forth and Pitlochry, and it was Care No More, as in Cairn O MHOR, which is actually Vor, but more Care No More. And it was sort of Bucky-ish, but it was like made of raspberry wine and gooseberry wine and stuff like that. But I thought Cairn O More or Cairn O Vor, but Care No More, I quite like that as well. Got a Squire Bullet. It's okay, but the Affinity seems better. But it's like, I think, to be honest, it is. If you're looking at two guitars from the same catalogue and one of them's like 120 quid or 130 quid and one of them's 200 quid, then it's really got to be better. But yes, I mean, quite a lot of it's to do with the setup, I think. I mean, to be fair, the electrics in this were terrible. I just threw out the switch. Did I? When I say threw it out, it's on the floor here. But I mean, that sort of switch is unacceptable. They just crunch, and then you can't fix them. And so I just ripped it out and put in. When I say decent quality, I mean the ones that have got like a circuit board on them because they're not rubbish. That is rubbish. I also had to replace the pots because they were all goosed as well. So I mean, there is cheapness to it. I kept two of the pickups for this because I thought, great. So if you've got one of these and you think, oh, I've got a set of actually Neon Tech Treater, give me a set of these pink pickup covers. I was up here, right? They're going on those pickups. No, the covers don't come off. The pickups that come in this guitar. So the three pink pickups are all reverse wound ones that I found in my parts box. The two of the white ones are the non-reverse wound ones. Then obviously the third one was reverse wound, so I had to put another white one in. Things get confusing. Hey Tegan, how's it going? Oh dear. Oh man, it was Cookie. Got quite a bit. Tegan. Remember you had my Yamaha Revstar? I do, but I've now skipped. There you go. Yes, Yamaha Revstar, fantastic. It was a 420, so it was like a 400 odd ballpark price. Yeah. Actually, my pal Toblerone has just changed his name. Lives in Kilsyth. Was trying to swap. He wanted to swap a white Revstar. I think it was a 200 and something series. It looked amazing for my Ibanez SA series, but that was the day I'd already swapped it for the Gretsch. The danger in getting a Yamaha Revstar is I'd be likely to keep it. But again, it's like they do the same guitar, but I think the 200 series probably will have lesser hardware on it, and it probably only comes in white or black. You won't get the translucent finishes and stuff. But yeah, the Revstar. It's like, do you like the shape? I'm not super keen in the shape. Oh, hold on, I need to find the button to stop the telly turned off. There we go. Okay, that wasn't too long. Recent Squire Bullets are junk. Maybe they are. This isn't. I would class this as 2007, so it's like 14 years old. So it's not a current one. I think the new ones have got they don't have a trem. This one does have a trem. Not that I've got a trem arm for it. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that, see, in 2007 when this was new, it was maybe 130 quid, and then now, 15 years later, it's still 130 quid. You think, well, they must be to hit that price point. They must be found a cheaper way of making it. They did the same with Gibson SGs. I remember buying my SG, my red one there, and a SG standard was $599 everywhere. Or SG special was $599 everywhere, no matter where you looked. And I bought that, and then a year later, suddenly they came out at $499, and it was like, oh, that's kind of bizarre, because like for 10 years they were $599, now they're $499, and you play it, you go, it's a much cheaper guitar. So that's what they did. 650 new for the LTD. Yeah, I mean, I was a bit shocked at my my Baby Metal guitar, which isn't on the wall anymore. It was an Alex Lehigh one, and I paid 100 quid for it with the hardware had been swapped. So I chopped it up, cut a big hole in it, sanded the top, painted it like Baby Metal, and then found out that it cost 700 quid new. It was like, oh, if I'd known that, I would probably have put it back to Alexei Lehigh state and then just made one at a kitchen worktop or something. Oh. 80 quid got it for your daughter, and it was like, oh. Maybe you got a bad one. Like if you pick up 80, that wouldn't be 80 quid new, it'd be 80 quid second hand, I would imagine. Someone else, was it Pontiac, was telling me that they only work for a couple of years and then the next warp. And it's like, this one hasn't, but I mean, that is very possible, especially if you're in Arizona or something like that, where it's been dead hot. Maybe that makes the wood dry out quicker or something. Something like that. I really don't think you can buy a guitar for 80 quid that's all right, unless it's second hand. Really, if you can do a wee bit of fidgeting, like bit of fretwork, maybe having to replace the pickups, but not necessarily. Don't put Seymour Duncans in it, maybe get a set of Warmans or something like that, make a huge difference to a guitar like this, or put in another set. Keep the pickups that are already in it and then stick Warmans in it as well. It sounds better when you've got like 5 pickups on and stuff like that. That's fine. I can't get no satisfaction. Bellcat. I know, but I've actually got Bellcat pedals. I fitted a Bellcat active circuit before. I actually got a really good thing. It's there's a guy in, is it Poland or something like that, makes these things, and that's it there. I've got it in a pedal. It's basically just a switch with a wee circuit board on the bottom, and I think it's just like it's a 10 decibel boost, and you could get it so it's like a 10 decibel boost and a mid boost at the same time, and it's about 15-20 quid. And honestly, that was what was in the Westone Thunder that I managed to make the original thing work on. It just does exactly the same thing, apart from the Westone Thunder uses 2 9-volt batteries and it's got a big circuit board like this, but basically does the same thing. Things have moved along a little bit. I can't get satisfaction. That's really all you want. I mean, I have to say that even when I got this guitar, the way it was, well, after I'd had some strings missing, but after I'd put on like a new set of strings, it was acceptable. It's not like pure amazing, but I mean it played all the way up the neck. The pickups made sounds on all the strings. There is a point where it gets too cheap and you suddenly end up with wood that doesn't hold the frets that are made of chewing gum, and tuners are just like fake tuners. They kind of look like tuners, but actually if you just went, you could just pull them off the guitar. That's how cheap they are. And the same with the bridge. I had to smash that guitar up. I've got another one the same. It's branded Erin. There's one Bowwood. Nope. Westwood was the one. There's one that looks pretty good on Gumtree, and I keep seeing it. The guy was trying to sell it for 40, and now he's trying to sell it for 20. And see, honestly, for 20 quid, it's not worth it. You can't make the guitar play. You can make it play just as in played the guitar for years, you're drunk and you're camping, you can play open chords on it. That's as good as you can get it. You can't get it to actually be good. I will have a look at the active circuits from Bellcat to buy one. I remember sticking one on a Schecter bass before. Shergolds. The thing about Shergolds is I don't know if you probably get good ones and not so good ones. I've not seen um, I've not seen one for years, and they weren't. I've never seen them cheap. They were always 500-600 quid. The one my pal had, the lacquer had really gone mental cracked on it. This is the guy who painted my BC Rich. So he sanded it down and can spray painted it red. It looked hideous. He basically took a guitar like he paid 500 for and then sold it for 250 because that's what happens when you've no idea what you're doing, and you basically, that's what he used to do with guitars all the time. He would buy a guitar for a couple £100, spend £100 in parts, and then sometimes just have to put it in the bin because he'd completely ruined it. And that's where I would get out the bin like that. Oh, that's where I get the neck from a double neck. He had the great idea of making an Ibanez type neck, but he wanted it to be like a neck, like a neck through. So he kind of carved this all up and then put tons of filler all the way around here and all that, and then bolted it up and then goes, Malcolm, can you make this play? And he put the thing on it an angle like this, and it's like, if you're going to glue the neck on permanently, put it on in the right place. So basically, I can't make that guitar play ever. So I physically had to saw the neck out. It was an awful lot more work than just buying a new neck. Yeah. Now talk about synchronicity. I only relatively recently heard that Police song, and it's amazing. I absolutely love it when they're dressed like Mad Max in the video. Got the Squire. I think it's just, again, Squires have got a funny thing about it. I don't know what year it is you should buy them from. I had one of these before, which I thought was exactly the same, but I'm totally sure it was a hardtail and a maple neck. It was pink. Well, basically, it was a pink Squire Bullet, and I really thought it was amazing. I think I did actually paint it Bucky colours now that I think about it, which I haven't done with this one. Virgin learning his favourite songs, mainly Nirvana. He got I'll try and speed through and catch up. Hey, Bobby, Rob, how's it going? Sorry, a wee bit behind. Sorry, I've skipped. It doesn't look like I'm that far behind when I look at the wee thing on the side. Virgin been learning his favourite songs, mainly Nirvana. He got a Squire Bullet strap, was surprisingly good, but he learned one riff and stopped. Well, maybe it just happened to be on the frets that didn't buzz. The Happy Sundays. No, I've actually saw the Happy Mondays. They were awful. Too much to the point of I went to see Oasis, who the band I hate most in the whole world, but I went anyway just so I could say I went and they were horrible. And I wasn't disappointed. And we're sitting there, it was a Happy Mondays, and really, what a rabble. This is in Murrayfield Stadium, and apologies. I don't miss like this song. I've never heard this before in my life. It's like, no, listen. Oh my God, that's Sympathy for the Devil? Really? It was like nothing like Sympathy for the Devil at all. It was horrendous. I remember them. They were I'm slightly too young for Happy Mondays. And yes, Craig, liking Nirvana, I just learning stuff on YouTube and actually been able to see, and the ability to pause somebody playing it, even not maybe watching a video of, like an actual tutorial, just watching Nirvana play, and you can pause it without the screen going and trying to get the bit where you're trying to work out what fret he's playing on. Done that before. You also just look up the chords. I used to buy these tab books. They were more expensive than 5 records. Some people they're saying, Papa, Jorgen, hey Papa. I would like to play a Rumba Rumba, a Papa Joe Coconut. If you don't know that song, look it up by The Sweet. It's a great song, just because your name's Papa. But yeah, some people just don't take to it. I don't know what it is about guitar playing. I did take to it. My first guitar didn't play below the 5th fret because the neck was twisted, warped or something. It was a Honor Rockwood. So I learned to play Black Sabbath. And I could pretty much play Paranoid 5 minutes after my pal left the tab book at my house. It was like, or it was up here. I could do this. And then I went mad for playing the guitar. I never gave up. Hey, Billy, how's it going? Next, Twist Like a Pretzel. Yes, possibly. As I said this to you before, I'm not sure. Something to do with the climate here maybe doesn't make necks twist the same way. I can't really think of a Squire I've had that's had a twisted neck. I've had a few Westfields and stuff. I've had a few twisted necks. Oh. Show those guitars I have with you. They both cost over 800 new, but I got them for 250 each. I would, but see, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm a total professional. So when I'm on the Bucky, I don't touch other people's guitars. I could show them. You have kind of given me an excuse to go and get them. They do look pure amazing, though. It's just that basically, yeah. I'll go and get them. Show them. I'm not plugging them. I'm showing them. The Jackson one looks mental. Hey, Rob, caught up with you now. I hope you're enjoying your bass. My Explorer has massive string bus on most strings, and raising the action doesn't seem to do anything. Do you know a fix for me? Massive buzz on most strings. How's your truss rod? Because see if your truss rod is in any way too straight or bending back the way, if your neck's bending this way, it'll just be absolute chaos and nothing will make any sense at all. So it's possible your truss rod is over tightened. The way you would tell by looking at it is hold it down, hold the E string down on the first fret and the last fret, and kind of in the middle sort of thing. The string should just be a half a millimetre of ball hair off the frets in the middle. If it's touching, that's what's wrong with your guitar. There could be there's lots of wee things, fidgety things. You might have the nut cut wrong. The bridge, it does seem like if you raise the action up, then it does imply, because if you think about it, the neck, if the neck's bent back anyway, holding down a fret, it's still okay. When it's open, it probably doesn't buzz, but when you hold it down, it's still the same action as it kind of would be if I would basically have a look at the truss rod, as sounds like for me. 2000, made in Indonesia by Samick. Were Samick making did Samick make Squires? Maybe they did. I know that they were still making Epiphone Les Pauls at that point, because I did a review of one just last week. My pal Chrissy, it was a really nice Les Paul. Shame it was a Les Paul, but it was a really good Les Paul. Actually, this one's a CY, and it says below it, crafted in China. So I think C maybe stands for China, and Y stands for the something starting with the Y plant maybe. Someone talking about the just the truss rod at the top or bottom of the neck, depending on the guitar. Yeah, true. Most guitars have it there. It's annoying when it's in there, like on a real Fender. I don't know how. Well, I've got my Japanese Fender's the only one I can think of that's got it. You have to actually take the neck off. So you have to take the strings off, the scratch plate off, the neck off, give it a turn, put the neck back on, string it up, Oh, give it another wee turn, take the strings off. It gets annoying. Electric Caveman, Telecaster. I can see one. I like Telecasters. I'm a huge fan. I think it could be the nut. It could be the nut or the bridge as well. But if it's buzzing on all the strings, Sam Tolainen, it's likely to be something big. If it's buzzing on all the strings, maybe think about. Did you say it was an Explorer? So when the bridge could be, he said you've raised the action up. I think it's most likely to the nut. Sometimes the nut can be cut wrong. Yeah, it's not that common to be cut wrong, but you do get an awful lot of folk. Me 20 years ago sitting there with your guitar going, this doesn't work, trying sawing bits and without actually knowing what I was doing pre-internet. So that could have happened in the 80s or 90s. We try adjusting the truss rod at first. Make sure it looks all right. Top marks for 2,000 subs. Cheers, Roxy's Guitar Show. I know you're the guy that did you did a review of the Yamaha RGX A2, because I looked it up and it was like, there's someone else already done one relatively recently. But cheers. Someone actually, you directed someone towards me asking about a guitar, because like, so cheers for that. I'll direct someone in your direction at some point for that. Brilliant. Play a few riffs. Can do that. I'll catch up a little bit and I'll play a few riffs. Did you get the EVH styled Strat sold? The Iron Brew caster. No, I didn't. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. The problem is I don't want to sell it for any less because it's a really good guitar and I kind of like to keep it. I'm kind of thinking about painting it back to being a normal colour, like make it blue and orange, so it's an Iron Brew, not a Van Halen brew, so I can actually play it. I think what else is in my favourite ever riff of all time. Get your motor running, heading on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Yeah, nothing gonna make it. Amazing song. I can't believe how many bands I was in with that being my favourite song for many years, and I never realised it was actually playable and not that difficult. My Squire bass. I'll try and get catch. I'll play some more riffs in a minute. Squire bass, my Ibanez Les Paul Twisted Necks when some notes buzz, and I fixed it in a couple of minutes. A twisted neck. I don't know. See, because I've gone through hundreds of guitars, it must be 300 or 400 guitars I've gone through, most of them being sub £100 cheapy, fixy-uppy, selly ones. So kind of just experience. I kind of know when you give me a guitar a couple of minutes ago, all right, okay, it's not the nut, no, it doesn't seem to be the bridge, and kind of just like a checklist for me. Just because I've gone through so many guitars, I've probably had one that's had the same problems that you've got there. Watched it after the end video. I forgot how good it was. Flares looked great on the guitarist. Has to be a loose fit. Well, I wore flares as well. We just didn't see them. That was first time I went in to try out for that band. I went in. It was one of the first things I noticed. I was in talking to the singer and one of the guitarists going with flares. I was like, oh, he's wearing flares. I might have to buy flares again. So I did. So I flared it up for Black Sabbath. If open strings are buzzing, it could be the nut too long. Yeah, there's quite a lot to it. Hey, Nerd, it's I don't know, is it a metrical? Is there a difference between? I think a Bauhaus is the perfect junction between metric and imperial. It's like it's better than both of those systems. You know what I mean? It's just like it should just be a Bauhaus or two Bauhaus. Is like that's it. It's two Bauhaus. It's too good. Rox says, why is usually Jaco plant? I've never heard of Jaco plant ever, but that could very well be it. I know that IC stands for Indonesian court, so I'm assuming that C stands for China. Jaco. Yes, that does make sense. Could be. Mine is IS, so Indonesia and Samic. Very much could be, yes. I don't know if S stands for. Is there not a Saehan plant somewhere? Saihan or Seihan? It could be, but Young Bong Tong Factory. I don't know what you're talking about. Crafted. Does it say crafted? This is actually quite what you don't normally see in most of the Squires. This actually says a genuine Fender product designed in the USA, made in China. But it's like so. It's like I don't think Squires normally quite have quite so much. Yes, this is a Fender. It's designed in America. Yeah. Crafted in China. But I think later on they get once you get up to the affinities and stuff, they're not quite so blatant. You're like, it's a Squier, it's fine. Always nice when a cheap guitar is great. I got a 7-string Harley Benton for 120 and it's brilliant. He's not on. He should be. I need to say, yes. There's one of my pals, not Ian Gillan, but his name's very similar to that. He was looking at getting a Harley Benton 7-string, and I was like, should I buy the cheap one and then upgrade it, or should I just buy the one that's more expensive so it doesn't need to be upgraded? It's like, I wouldn't really necessarily think about. I don't buy a guitar and then immediately upgrade it. It's like, buy it, see if it needs upgraded, because I mean, sometimes it's not worth it. Quite a lot of the time, it's not worth it. Like, see something like this isn't current, like the Squier Bullet Mustang. There's not really any. Everything on it's all right. You can put locking tuners on it, they're better. Yes, you can put Seymour Duncan pickups in it, they're better. But I mean, it's like, what's in it works really well, and it's like, basically, if you put £100 of tuners on it, you've got like a £100 guitar with £100 worth of tuners on it. It's not worth 200 quid. It's worth. So if it's not fixed, don't fix it. Young Chang. It could be Young Chang. I don't even know if they still going. My pal Dava is always going. I always say that you don't really get that bad Squiers, but he's totally adamant that you get Squiers that are so awful they're as bad as that one I had to smash up, the Westwood I had to smash up, and nothing's as bad as that Westwood I had to smash up. It's him I was going to give the Erin guitar to. Yeah, I'm going to give him that and go, here, just for free. There you go. Make that play, and he'll just be like, he'll get to go up here, right, this is the worst guitar in the universe. It'd be quite funny. Hey, Charlie. How's it going? Oh. They say Harley Benton is righteous. Could be Phoenix by Young Chang. Yes, I've had Phoenix before, Billy. I know you had one. Harley Benton Rickenbacker copy didn't sound like a Rick. Look cool, though. I don't know. I reckon that could cost £1,000, at least, for a second-hand one. One of my pals actually managed to find one in a charity shop that must have been put in by someone who either stole it or was a heroin addict or something. I think he paid something like 250 quid for it, for a Rickenbacker 401 bass. Like, really? Yeah, so I was just lucky. Lots of Harley Bentons around there from Holland for really cheap. Harley Bentons are good. The prices are insane, though. I mean, really, when you start looking at them, and it's like, I remember as a Telecaster, not only like 90 quid or something. It's like, it's all right. It's not, doesn't sound like a £200 Telecaster because it's not, but it's physically working. It just kind of goes to show, if you compare it to like your Squiers and your Epiphones, obviously quite a lot of that money goes to Squier and Epiphone, whereas Harley Benton, they don't have to pay that. So that's why they're 40% cheaper than exactly this, or not exactly the same, but a totally similar spec guitar that's an Epiphone or a Squier or something like that, like 120 quid for the cheapest, 150 quid for the cheapest Squier telly, and then 80, 90 quid for the cheapest Harley Benton telly. But I don't know. They're not. Okay, they're good for modern prices, but I mean, I'm talking about the ones I buy, like the old Japanese ones cost less than Harley Bentons and are better than real Fenders. They're completely different league. Just depends what it is you're into, I suppose. It's but worthwhile buying them second hand, I think, especially if they're cheap. I don't think they go down in price that much. Like £150 Harley Benton second hand's worth like 120, 130, because I would rather pay the extra 20 quid and get a brand new one. How can I tell what year my Thunder 1 bass is, bud? And it's worth the serial number on the back of the headstock will tell you the number. Do I have a West Tone within? That one's got a number on the back. Well, it should do. So if you look at the number there, starts with a 4, 1984. So if it starts with a 2, 1982. It's possible it's an earlier one. If it's, see that logo? Oh. That logo where it's like a sort of an eagle W, that would be a slightly later one. The earlier ones have a sort of, it's not a very good looking logo. It kind of looks like a sort of play school, like some kids drawn it in pencils. it's a toy. You know, you can imagine it saying, you know, kindergarten on the wall of a kindergarten, and that kind of writing. They're worth a bit more. If failing that, it might have a serial number on the neck plate. And again, it's what the number starts with. So if you've got it there, look it up, stick it in the comments, and I'll tell you what it is. I don't know if I would go for replacing pickups. I'm sure you said it was a bass. The pickups in it are Gotoh DiMarzio copies, which are 99% the same as DiMarzio's. The chances are, unless you're going to buy like DiMarzio's, you won't actually be upgrading the pickups. You'll be downgrading the pickups. Tell you what, I'll give you a tenner for those pickups you just took out. We're going to do that. Harley Benton's are fine. See, our scale length is a bit shorter than usual Silver String, so you do heavier strings with what comes with it. Pickups aren't amazing, but tuners and overall fit and finish is great. You're talking about paying 120 quid, really. I mean, if the bits work, and as you say there, I don't know what a usual 7-string scale is. More than 25.5, I'd imagine. But it's just that I've actually T-Gun's guitars I've got to. I've just tuned his I'll go and show you. I wonder if he's still on. He did give me carte blanche to actually look it out. So I'm just going to be super careful not to bash it off any walls or drop it. So this is in drop A. This is a Schecter Hellraiser. And it's drop A, and the strings are Guy Floppy. Probably not in tune anymore because it was. And this is a. I will be doing a little bit of setting up on it, but maybe having slightly heavier gauge strings is the way to go. Because I mean, that is tune drop A is low. It's super duper low. But I went down to C sharp on one of the Black Sabbath basses because half their songs are in C sharp, and it's amazing how quickly I get used to it and how much I love playing the bass with the pure super bendy strings. I can pure you just get used to it. Amazing. I think with £127, it's like that's the sort of, you're really talking about buying that, seeing if you like a 7-string guitar. If you really like 7 strings, buy the more expensive one, and you're still going to get £100 back for that. Easy, aren't you? So you can't really lose. I'm usually playing a Gibson Les Paul Standard, so I was expecting Harley Benton to be full shape. Sorry, Gibsons aren't that good. Didn't say that. I've got a Gibson. I do love it. They don't feel. They're not the best feeling guitars you can buy. Put it that way. The Westone will have the year serial number. Well, yes, but it'll just be the first number. Just tell it is. Hey, Chris, you got a Harley Benton T. A Telly. I think a Telly is the best guitar to try. If you're going to try and make one yourself, make a Telly, because there's so little in it to get wrong. So I think even the cheapest Tellys you can get are sort of much better than the cheapest Strats, just because the Strats got to have, there's things here, there's springs, and then there's 6 pivot points and all that, and it's like a Telly is just like, no, just screw the bridge, bent piece of metal, screw it on, that's it, and then everything's just bolty, which works really well, I think. Yes, that's right. The second years, I'm not. So 1984, 09 be September. I did, yeah. So 1984 one, and it's a Thunder 1 bass. Don't know. You see them on eBay quite a lot of time for sort of 250 quid in good nick. Depends what colour it is. I think there's one. It kind of looks like it's neck through because it's got the strips of wood down the centre. The one that's black looks amazing, or red or blue. The one that's just like natural wood, not as nice. There's a lot of them. So I think I actually had a West Tone Thunder guitar, a pal bought. It was a Thunder 2, so it was a set neck one, and it was gorgeous. It really was stunning. Had to give it back to him, but that was stunning. There might be something a bit more. I think I'm nearly getting to the end, so I can ask some more questions. Just found a Canadian film, Fubar. Don't know what that is. So I'll put ceramic pickups for an eco. I don't know enough about magnets. I know people do it. I know you get on Eco 3 and on Eco 4 and on Eco 5. At least ceramic's not necessarily bad. I think it's just one of those things that the cheapest ones you buy are ceramic. Therefore, it's the same as valve amps. The cheapest valve amp you can buy is like that wee PV. It's like £100 for a wee tiny thing. But the cheapest sort of gigging 50-watt combo things £1,000, whereas the cheapest solid state you can buy is £100. So valves are better. It costs 10 times as much. They don't make solid state amps at the equivalent price. I think if you had a £500 tube amp and a £500 solid state amp, that's a fair fight. But that doesn't happen very often because you don't really get £500 solid state amps. I suppose now you do your Kempers and all that, but it's not really the same thing, is it? Oh. American workers at the Fullerton factory get fat stacks, 50 to 100 an hour. Really? I don't think so. I don't think. Well, maybe some of them get $100 an hour, maybe. And China they get nothing. I get that. Also, it's 16-hour working day in China for any job. That's just how much you work, how much everyone works. 16 hours. Us Westerners have it really easy. Really, with 8 hours. Pushing it out. I've seen your Telecasters out of skateboards. I've thought about it. It's like as soon as I saw the skateboard guitar, I thought, what can I make a guitar out of? I haven't really found anything. I used kitchen worktop, but it was kind of there. I've used joists. I almost made one out of a ceramic sink insert. It would have weighed a ton. It's just like trying to find something good. I do have my original Millennium Falcon, Star Wars toy. But other people have done it. I've also got an Atari, like the old wooden one with switches on it, which I reckon I probably could. I looked up to see if it was worth hundreds of pounds, and it's not. So it's like, you could maybe make that. But the thing is, these things have been done before, so it's like, it kind of takes away the impetus to do it. I need to look up for it. Demystify the Telecaster. I don't know what TDPRI is, where they worship its actual power. They've just Telly's is just like Fender. I mean, Leo Fender basically invented the electric guitar, didn't he? Really? I mean, okay, before it you had like your jazz boxes and stuff like that, but that was really an acoustic guitar with a pickup in it. The Telecaster was the first ever. Bang! Here we go. I've designed it. It's this scale length. Here's the thing, it's got 2 pickups and blah, blah, blah. It's all bolted together. You got a bolt on neck, and it's just like totally pure. Yeah! And it just survives amazingly. Same with the P-Bass. You just got it right. It's like, you didn't get electric basses before the P-Bass. So it's like pure. What was he competing with? An upright bass, which if you ever played an upright bass, it's like this. It's like, it's so much bigger. The closer you get to it, it's like, by God, it's like, ah! And he's like, up here, no, we'll make it 34-inch and we'll use this type of string and da-da-da. And he pretty much got it right first time. I think at 52, the first P-Bass, I think 54, they kind of changed the pickup and changed the shape of the scratch plate. And that's basically the one, what all P-Basses are now. SKB foot tone on the board. Winning a football pedal board, so it's a clean 5-watt amp. You can get the circuit board for 23 made up an amp. Sounds great. Technology, isn't it? One day I'd like to try and we had a string bass upright in the orchestra. Great fun. I bet you it was. My pal had one, Steph, the guy who I got my Telecaster off actually. He had one. He had like a music room into his house, and it was like, yeah, have you ever seen one of these? And I was like, oh wow, that double bass, wow! And he's like, he stood it upright, and it was like suddenly looking at it, go up here. The window's dead small. Is that a really small door frame? And it's not. The thing is just that size. And when you go to play it, you're like thinking, oh, it's going to be like this. And it's like, it's a way out here somewhere. And they're like, right. I figured it would be like a fretless bass or something where I could give me a couple of minutes and I can play along sort of thing. If you're playing, like a blues or something, I'd play along with it. This thing was just like really, really bizarre feeling. I've never done anything like enough music theory and things like that to actually play real music. I do feel a wee bit sorry for a lot of the orchestra people who are just sitting waiting. I don't fancy Hansel or Hayden wrote a bass solo, 6 double basses we rocked. I bet you that was fun. I suppose the bass might not be, because you're probably kind of playing the whole time. I just feel like sometimes you see someone who's just sitting there reading sheet music, and then it's like 6 minutes in, and then wait for another bit to come in. Maybe just like try and maybe depends on who wrote the music. You can maybe try and. Hold on, ABQ. You're talking about this SKB foot tone. And there's a clean 5-watt amp. Is it sometimes called a noisy cricket? One of my pals keeps telling me to build a noisy cricket amp. It's about 20 quid and it's meant to be pure amazing. I think it's about 5 watt and you can basically run it into, in fact, it might even be more than that. And you can just stick it into like a 4x12 and use it as a gig rig. And it's like, this amount of circuit. Maybe it is. I'm kind of a little bit skeptical about how good that is. But then again, it depends what it is you're trying to do. It's like I don't really use pedals. I kind of rely on the sound of the amp, just playing the tube thing, and then maybe use pedals to adjust that sound a little bit. But we've not had a guess yet. So how many sounds does this guitar have? I've not talked about it. This is so we've got, there's a 3-way switch here, right? So when this is in the middle, nothing fancy's on. You've just got the pink selector switch, which chooses the pink pickups. You've got a master volume, a master high pass filter, and a master tone. Pretty simple. So that's 5. And then if you pull this wee switch to the back, it puts in the white pickups in parallel. So that's like, if you've got the pink pickup, choosing this one and this one, you're choosing this and this, and then all the combinations. If you put this wee switch to the front, it puts them in series. So you get like, there's neck humbucker, bridge humbucker, etc. Also, I put a push-pull pot on that, which reverses the phase of the white pickups. So you've got all the same sounds within the parallel mode, out of phase, and then you've got all the same sounds in the series mode, the humbucking mode, out of phase. So you can have a guess there. NHF11124, way more than that. I'm going to do a video for it during the week, and I'm going to claim it's the most sounds ever on a Strat, even though I've done it. Well, it was a Flying V I did it in before. I looked up I did a guitar a few years ago called the Decimator. I actually gave to Civet. It's a Flying V, and it's got a quad. It's like a dual rail pickup. Well, this is like 4, so it's a humbucker with 4 coils in it. One of them, a dual rail, and another quad. So basically, there's 10 coils, and on the wing of the Flying V, there's 10 on-off switches. So if you put on all 10 switches, you get all 10. You get a 10 coil pickup, basically, and the number of hold on again. See, when you work that out, it's like, but basically, obviously not that much difference. You can physically, because you get 10 on-off switches, you can have this pickup on, or this one, or this one, or this one, or this one, this one, or as many on and off. It's 3.8 million sounds. This doesn't do 3.8 million sounds. It was silly. I mean, obviously, you're talking about, if you could measure it, there is a difference on the Decimator having this pickup and this one on rather than this one and this one, but you're not going to hear it. It's not a bad one for 78. 78 would probably be the most you could get in a guitar. More! Up! There's a mass equation somewhere. Well, The maths equation, that's how I worked out what the decimator did, because I've got 10 on-off switches, so it's 10 factorial, which I did statistics. So it's 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which gives you 3.6 million or 3.8 million. Whatever that number comes out at, you take one off, because obviously one of those states is all off and that doesn't count as a sound. My toast. Yeah. Is the Vulture bass better than the Thunders? Yeah. Actually, I might be getting a shot of a Thunder 3. So it would be, the Vulture bass would be the equivalent of a Thunder 3 anyway. And the thing about Thunders is you get 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you see 10 1s for every 2 you see, and you see 10 2s for every 3 you see, because you went into the shop and it was like 150 quid for a 1, 250 quid for a 2, 400 quid for the 3, and they kind of look the same and they kind of sound the same, because obviously you only get that much better when you start putting the fancy stuff in. NHS, if you I don't have as much as 144. That's just silly. No, it's getting there. So you're too high with 144. Yes, I'll check your video ABQ in, and I'll watch it tonight. I'm drunk anyway, so watching stuff on YouTube is going to be quite fun. So looking at this, telling you how to work out the sounds. So in the middle, you get 5 sounds, the original 5, so it's 5 plus, right? You got these in parallel, right? You've got the pink one, the main pickups in neck position. You get 5 options on this, right? If you go to position 2, you get 5. If you go to position 3, you get 5. If you go to position 4, you get 5. So you get 25 sounds in parallel. Yep. You go into series, it's the same again. You get 25 sounds in series. You get 25 sounds in parallel out of phase, and you get 25 sounds in series and out of phase. So that comes up to 105. I did look at if I put Gilmore switches on both these 5-way switches, it goes up to 200 and something. But I'm going to claim it's a world record anyway, even though I know it isn't, because the world record has to be the decimator. You can't. It's like 3.5 million combinations. It's like not the same. They're particularly useful. There's a huge difference between them all, but they are different. You ever heard the sound of silence? Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah. The wee Hoton amps are tiny 5 watts, could fit in a pedal board and power forward. Yes, I have actually seen them. I kind of like the idea, because that's the idea of, as long as your speaker cabinet doesn't go, it's kind of like a spare amp. There's also a similar sort of thing called is it Electro Harmonics to it, called a Colt 45, which is like a 45 watt power amp, which is just in a standard EHX pedal. And I always fancied that, because it's like you've got that, there's your spare amp. So if the Softtek blows up, I could just stick in the 45 watt power amp. Amazing. The problem with these things is you still need speakers. You know, it's like, especially, I keep thinking that with bass amps as well. You get like all these modern bass amps of 300 watt and stuff. You know, it's a tiny wee thing. You know, that's great. You still got to take a 4x12 and a 2x15, so I don't really save that much, because if I'm carrying that and that's easy. You know, it's like just want it. I like the idea of having. It's real, man. You know, it's like pure. Yeah, you got to feel the groove and analog and all that kind of. There's something. I know it sounds silly and it's probably not right, but there's something about just having like a real amp, like the Laney, or even that wee Peavey, and you just got that and your guitar and possibly a distortion pedal. There's something very honest about that I like, even though, you know, I'm not saying I'm stuck at that forever. It's just now I'm kind of stuck at that. Hold on, I'm getting caught up again. All right, Andy, never noticed you're on. Hey, Stephen, never noticed you're on. Catch you guys later. I've got to go. Catch you later, Scott. Buy Scott Peace. I don't think you can buy peace. It'd be nice if you could buy peace, wouldn't it? Hey Scott, how's it going? Haven't been talking about you recently. I see you put up the black flag. Yeah, I've been a Henry Rollins fan. It's okay, I know it's meant to be a saltire. Not going to get political, just didn't like that. A flux capacitor, a lithium crystal, and a push pull. Wow. No, the fuck. What's it's got? Aye, that what's that pedal I borrowed off T-Gun? The Game Changer audio plasma pedal was kind of getting into that flux capacitor thing, but instead of that, what I've got, in fact, this hasn't been on in ages because there is no effects loop on the wee PV. So I'm going to put this on, which is one of the reasons I didn't buy that Game Changer pedal. Oh, it's going hot. Send. Bang. Bang. You can tell I use this often, I don't even know where the power button is. I need to get a tutorial of someone how to actually use this, but it's actually sounding quite broken. Maybe yeah, so that was my idea. Rather than having the plasma pedal, that's kind of a similar sort of thing. If I knew how to set it up, I think you can make that size. How do you get the? There's a way of making it so it gives you actual proper. Yay! Sorry, I was showing you my Borg creation cube there, just for first experience with a cheap whammy bar. I'm not happy. A JCM 800 half stack. I don't need. I've got my Softtech sounds almost like the best JCM 800 ever. It's out of all the amps I've ever tried in the studio, that's the only one that sounds even close to the Softtech. Good old Priest. Is it really what you're wanting? X-Paps at work. Yeah, it's like if I don't listen to someone, they'll just make you jealous by sitting here drinking Bucky in the heat. Oh. Just had a look at Thomann and noticed that cheap 7-string has a lime body. I don't know. I don't think if I was really aware of lime bodies either. I do have it. I've got a Sycamore Aria Pro. It's very nice. It's like I mean, Tonewood. I don't know. I know someone the other day was I can't remember which Facebook page it was on. They were talking about Tonewood's up here. Tonewood's all rubbish. It doesn't make any difference. It's like it's all it does, but I don't know what it is. It's like there's a lot you can put into it. If I'm paying £1,000 for a guitar, I don't want it made of plywood. You know what I mean? But lime, I don't know. I don't know how lime is. I'm sure somebody's probably got a chart, but I mean it makes sense. You see people talking about it's like, oh, the reason a Les Paul sounds like it does is because it's got the maple cap on it, and the reason a Les Paul's got a maple cap is because Gibson were like, up here, right? This Fender Telecaster upstart, he doesn't have let's make this guitar. And the original spec was just a flat top, solid mahogany thing. And they're like, well, we know Fender can't do a carved top. They don't have the right machinery for it, so we have to put a carved top on it. So that's why Les Paul's got a carved top. You know, it's like maybe it makes a difference. So the same with like Strat bodies being made of swamp ash. It's because or Telecasters been made of swamp ash. Originally they were made of pine. And then because they were having to import pine from Canada, it was like, go ahead and cheaper. I was like, what grows here in California? Ash. We'll use that. therefore ash is the best tone wood, but that's not what they thought when they made it. I don't know. For spending money on it, I would rather have good stuff. Vester. No. I don't know Vester. Do I? Do I have a Vester amp? I think I might have a Vester amp, like an 80s. They're a sort of cheapy Korean, kind of like what Washburn were doing at the time in Aria Pro. I think. Might be the wrong band though. Something I've jumped you about 3 a.m. JP, yeah, the Sovtek is Russian made. It's made in Star City. It's like I had no idea what I was buying. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what it was until many years later, and I suddenly started going, it does sound really good. It's like, yeah, it's like, I was aware that the fact I was taking it to the studio and it was sounding better than the amps that were in the studio. But yeah, so it's made of ex-Soviet military parts. It's like electro harmonics. Maybe not actually. They had like a design. It's the same idea. See when Marshall made the first Marshall amp, they had like a Fender Bassman circuit, and they went, right, let's make that. So they copied it. It's like, oh, we don't have that, so we've got this, which is sort of like that. And then it was like, we don't have those valves, but we've got these valves, which are kind of the same, and we don't have those capacitors, but we've got ones that are sort of similar. And basically, that's what the Sovtek is. Apart from it's made from ex-Soviet military surplus stuff. You know, like the stuff they used in the radios and tanks and stuff and submarines is what that's made of. And it's all point-to-point wired, and it's absolutely the best amp I've ever played. And I've played really expensive ones. If you want a clean sound, it's not the amp you want. It's like it sounds like me. Basically, I think all the pedals I use are to try and simulate the sound of that amp. New Model Army. I don't really know New Model Army, but I know Killing Joke. They did the Nirvana song. Like exactly the same, but theirs is much better and called 80s. Like total note for note. Tonewood, you've entered chat. I what was it my pal Java said? I'm Tonewood agnostic. So it's like I don't definitely believe it doesn't exist, but I don't necessarily think it does exist. Although there are some things, like see if you've got like a Westone. I talked to Billy actually. You've got a Westone Spectrum, and it's really direct and hard and brittle sounding. It's solid maple with a solid maple neck. Is that why? I don't know. Yeah, it's like Pontiac Tonewood agnostic is just. I'm not in this argument. I'll listen to the parts. I'm not going to take either side though, because it's the same thing as I was saying earlier on with the tube and the solid state amps. If you're buying a guitar that's like $100 or £100, it's not going to be made of premium mahogany, right? Whereas if you spend £1,000, it probably is made of premium mahogany. But there's all other things in that, because that was a £100 guitar. It's like they've spent sod all on the neck and the pickups and setting up. Whereas because they spent £1,000, it's like if you just use the same wood, would it make the same difference? And I'm not really sure. Believe in Tonewoods. I don't know. I do appreciate that if you're spending a couple of grand on a guitar, it is nice that it's made of something a bit fancy. Do you know what I mean? I've got my Schecter P bass is made of Cocobolo. Yeah. And the only other place I've heard of Cocobolo was some mad animated film with Rockhopper penguins in it who were into surfing. And apparently Cocobolo is what they wanted to make the surfboard out of. I think it was Jeff Bridges was one of the penguins. No idea what film that was. But that's the only other place I've heard of Cocobolo. Because as soon as I hear Cocobolo, I thought, my bass is made of Cocobolo. It sounds good. Tomo doesn't make a difference once you're drunk and half out of tune mid-Sabbath jam. That's probably true. Yes. And yes, you do get wood is beautiful. Yes, I mean, you do get it. I mean, I've got my Washburn Falcon's got a solid rosewood top on it. like an inch thick rosewood cap, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's got like a maple walnut through string, ebony fingerboard, brass. You know, it's beautiful. I mean, is any of that really necessary to make the guitar sound good? I'm not sure. You know, Wesley Plexiglass. I've seen them. I've actually got a Tokai Strat that has a wooden fretboard, and everything else is composite-y. And it's a Tokai. You know, it sounds pretty much like a Strat, and you can use it. I need to dig that out again. Now that I'm mad into Strats, it was a really nice Strat. The only thing was, it was the neck's carbon fiber, which it didn't look, just looked terrible when I got it. I actually got it free with my my Washburn Falcon. The guys that appeared, yes, I'll sell it with the Falcon. I was like, not the Falcon, the Eagle, which is the more expensive one. I'll give you a piece of shit Tokai I got in a charity shop for 30 quid. So I'm like, okay. And this thing was plastic filled with foam body, carbon fiber neck, and it's a Strat, and it sounds pretty good. When you drive, if you're in America, you'll drive pure amazing cars. You're not driving a Fiat Panda. You're driving a Pontiac, aren't you? Since your name's a Pontiac Saviro, perhaps. Sounds like a car. But I mean, I've not. My pal Buster's actually got a Wesley plexiglass bass, or he had one, which I nearly bought a couple of years ago. There was something wrong with the bridge with it, and that's why it was like 50 quid or something. I know, Scott, you love your Gibson special tone plastic on all models. Tone plastic. But where does it... Is mother of pearl better for tone? I don't know. But these things... Well, Pontiac is Scott, we're talking about this the other day. Sorry for not having a Scott video up yesterday. I ended up pure smashed. Just slept all day yesterday. I don't really know what happened. I'm still blaming my jab. It's just like I was feeling ill for a few days. This is like almost a week ago, and then I hit the bucky, and it took me a couple of days to recover, and then I hit the bucky again on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. It was on my pal Dava. They were talking about that. From basic timbre, that sounds good to go for the toner thing in front of me. I don't need to be persuaded. I don't know. The thing is, like, say someone says, here's a guitar, it's 300 quid and it's amazing. And then he says, oh, it's plywood, by the way. You're kind of like, just out of snobbery, really. I mean, I've had plenty of guitars that were made of plywood that were awesome and much better. Just because it's made of solid wood doesn't mean it's good wood. You know, I mean, this is actually solid wood, but is this better than, like, the Strats, what's this, 2007? So 1997, were they still... Yeah, 1997, they were still plywood. Much better guitar, made of plywood. This is solid wood. Where does it come in? Money knocks you. Your first car was a Pontiac Firebird. I mean, I kind of know what that is, but I mean, I think you're not in America though. I mean, if you're here, cars rust. There's no, you don't have the option in America. Say if you're in like Arizona or Texas or whatever it is, and it's like it only rains for an hour every 3 weeks or an hour every year. You know, it's like that doesn't. It's not the same as here where it's pissing down nearly the whole time, and then when it's icy, they put salt in the roads, so it's like pure. Nah, car's not rusting up well enough with, you know, the water. It's kind of making the car rust, but not properly. Let's put salt all over the roads, salt and water. That'll just eat away at it. So we don't have it, but no cars here have survived. Really. But obviously you get the occasional ones, but not very many. Yeah. Sorry, I'm already laughing at Smokey and the Bandit Malco, right? That's a Pontiac Firebird, is it? Was Kit not a Pontiac as well? Or was it like a 1982 whatever Firebird? I know it's the ones that look pure amazing are the ones from the late 60s and early 70s. We had a car called the Capri, which kind of sort of looked a bit in that range of things. I actually had one, but it was a 1983 one I had. It was just the best looking car ever. But I mean, it was old technology. It was 25 years old, so it was all rusted and falling to bits. And I think I had it for 2 years, spent $2,000 on it, and sold it for what I got it for. So it's like, you know, just like, oh, feeling a bit flush, I'll just throw money at this old car. But amazing. I would totally, if I won the lottery, I would probably likely buy a Capri, actually, because the thing drove fantastic. It was only the 1.6 litre one I had, but I mean, you could power slide round roundabouts and all that. It was like, it wasn't like a modern car. It's like, what, you want to get a power slide? It's up here, whoa, pure, you know, giving it pure drift and all that. And it's like, what speed are you doing? 25. I actually spun it as well, come pulling off a motorway, and it was coming from North Queensferry, going back up onto the motorway. There was like a sort of dusty bit, like in the middle of the road, when it was going like just up on a very rarely used on ramp, and I spun 180 degrees. I was doing about 15 mile an hour, and it's like, whoa, it's amazing. used to see it in there used to be a show called The Professionals, which was on here, where they had some sort of Ford sponsorship, where every week they would have a new Ford, so they'd have like RS2000s and Capris and all that, and you could see them like doing the talking bit in the car. They obviously had some sort of camera mounted in the dashboard, and they're power sliding around roundabouts at 25 mile an hour. It's like pure, you know, like nowadays, you can power slide in a Porsche and a Ferrari at 150, not at 20. Fantastic fun. I think Kit was obviously nothing like as cool as the ones that came before, but I think it was a Pontiac Firebird. I'm not really sure. I remember Knight Rider from. I used to watch it every week, and I watched the music at the start. But the actual episodes. I'm sure if I actually spent down 5 minutes and working it out, I could work it out. I did work it out and play Airwolf at one point. That was my other favourite. Wouldn't drive a Pontiac over here, scary. Why? Well, just the thing that would scare me about driving something like that is just how much petrol it uses. Petrol's so expensive, and I drive the Panda because I get 65 miles to the gallon. Tried to get 66.6 miles to the gallon, but you're talking about, well, you get 20 or something like that from a Firebird, and it's like, so I would be constantly sitting there in the highest gear I possibly could, trying not to get the revs above 2,000 the whole time, just because I'm pure tinky. Oh, what? Pontiac was the name of a native chief. It's a French version of his name. The car's like really working. I didn't know that. Made a 2 litre white Capri back in the day. I bet you it was amazing. I remember getting a shot, Matt, before I got mine, about 10 years before that. My pal G had one, and I had a shot up in Loch Lomond. He's like, up here, right? You got a shot driving the Capri? It's like, what, really? The Capri? Wow. He's like, right. You don't drive round the corner like you do in a normal car. I'm like, right. It's like you point the bonnet round the corner and follow it. And really, that is how you drive a Capri. It's like you're sitting there, and it's like, I think it even had a power bulge in the bonnet. So you're sitting about halfway back in the car, and you've got like 6 feet of bonnet in front of you. On the 1.6 litre version, basically, if you lifted the bonnet up, you could walk round the engine. There's a wee 4-pot engine in the middle with gaps. Because I think the biggest one was I don't know if they did a V8. There's definitely a V6 one. There's so much room in below the bonnet. You could literally get in below the bonnet and stand next to the engine. But it was amazing. Early you don't do corners. Yes, I remember seeing we were talking. What's the one with the pure amazing? Is it a Stingray? And it's the advert. I remember seeing a documentary or something. They were showing you the advert for the Stingray, and they're just driving around a banked circuit, and they're maybe doing 50 or 60 mile an hour. You can pure see the driver struggling to keep this thing on the road. It's like pure tail spinning out, not because it's like it didn't have it, like drum brakes and no suspension at all, and all these things. Hey Tony, thanks for your. 100 times that would actually probably get me some money, which would be nice. But thanks, you're just one of the many people that are there and don't necessarily want to talk up stuff. That's totally fine. I love it when you guys all chip in messages and talk about stuff anyway. But I mean, if you don't have to, that's just and I might not always get to you because YouTube only tells me about some of the comments. But it's just great having people in there. So cheers, Tony. You're one of the people that gets my many thanks. 6,000 SUX. That was you might have seen that, and I did a video a couple of weeks ago, was it, when I worked out to play RoboCop? Was I using I might have been using the MIDI guitar. Worked out to play RoboCop, and I put the 6,000 MPG, an American tradition, 12 MPG, because I could just watch RoboCop over and over and over again. It's just amazing. But cheers. A Capri 2S and a 1.6 laser. Mine was I think it was just an L? It was a 1.6. It didn't have the rubber spoiler in the back, and I drilled holes and put the rubber spoiler in the back. I got it at the scrapyard for $5. Just a 1.6. I'm sure it was just an L or an LS. I'm trying to. It's funny going back to it. It had something. What were the things that made it the luxury one? It had a mirror, right, on the driver's door and on the passenger door. And I can't remember what the other thing that made it not the basic model. It was the luxury one because it had a mirror on either wing. I can't remember what else it had. Was it a rev? It had a rev counter. It was something stupid that the cheaper one didn't have. I think it came with a cassette player. I mean, mine didn't have a cassette player in it, but it came with a cassette player. Was the cheaper one that only had an AM radio or something like that? Got a bit of Stingray, yeah, okay. Lancia Stratos. That was a car I used to love when I was a wee guy. L, XL, or GXL. Not in headrest, maybe. Maybe it was just an L. No, because mine was definitely. It wasn't an S, because the S was the sporty one, and it came with like a graphic on the door with a big S on it. It's like that joke in Trading Places. It's like, up here, I want a car with a big S on it. It's like, up here, aye. Like really fast. It's like, well, why do you want a big S on it? So that people can see it and go, look at that S car go. But it kind of had an oil pressure gauge and all these things. Or it was a gear as well. I don't know. I just bought the cheapest Capri I could get. I think I paid £200 for it. And it was like it cost me £1,000 to make it work. And then I did get a cup. I think I had it for like 2 years. And in that 2 years, there was maybe 3 or 4 weeks where it was working. And then things just kept going. The laser, it wasn't a laser. Mine was too early. Mine was an 83. But the PAL G had a laser one. And then the one that's the big one was a Brooklands. They made that the year after. They were always British Racing Green, and they had massive alloys on them. And it was like, and everything was leather interior and all that. Talking about cars. Yeah, I'm currently rocking a Panda Sporting, which somebody, who was it that was surprisingly knowledgeable about it? It might have been Bob the drummer, Rob. So up here, it's a Sporting one. They're quite good. There's up here, really get like it's the same as the one I had before, apart from it's got a couple of extra plastic bits on it, and it's got a leather steering wheel. It's like, no, it's got toughened up suspension and all that, as well as my leather steering wheel, and it's got metal things on the. I drive a town with a toolbox in the trunk. If I knew about cars the way I knew about guitars, I would totally drive a pure and belted that car. But Jonesy had a 2.8. I can't even imagine that. Did it have the concrete slabs in the back? Like, the common thing was to have 2 or 3 concrete paving slabs in the boot, so there was a chance of you making it round that corner. But I mean, I can't. I fitted a Weber carburetor to mine, and you want to heard this thing. It was like the guy just explained to me. It's like, see if you imagine a carburetor, like it puts in air and water. It's like a normal carburetor goes with the petrol. What? Okay, yep, not air and water, air and petrol. It's like a carburetor, like a Weber's just like going with all of it, and really when you booted it, it just went and it really was scary. Get wheel spinning and everything. And that was a 1.6. It's like a completely different thing. Top one was the injection. Yeah, it goes like lightning. I seem to remember the advert for it. There was also one before it, which I remember someone had. There was a 3 litre as well, but it was like a non-injection thing. Now you just look at injection. Better cars and politics is less divisive. Yeah, okay, Stephen, you're right. I'll not talk about. Getting a wee bit off track. Mind you, we're getting through the bucky. Been on for more than an hour and a half, so I can diversify a little bit. I really don't know that much about cars. My dream car was always the Land Rover, which I just sold a couple of months ago. Polishing plastic headlights. Cars are crazy complicated. I'd like to get a simple to fix classic, but it would dissolve on the west coast of Scotland. It totally would. That's kind of what my Land Rover Defender, I had that for 14 years and I got 2/3 of what I paid for it back after 14 years. Not many cars like that. It probably means it's worth twice what I sold it for, but I mean, it was breaking my heart seeing it sitting outside every day, and it's like really comes down to, am I going to spend the like £280 road tax, the same again on insurance, plus I had to get it fixed, whatever the MOT would have cost. I just can't justify paying that just now. I'm skint. So the Panda will do me fine. The Panda's also an awful lot better at driving on normal roads. It's crap at going across fields and up mountains, but I mean, you know, sitting at 40 mile an hour when it's cold outside and you're warm, oh, you can't do that in a Land Rover. Land Rover's just like, if it's cold, wear wellies and a big jacket. Mark 1 had a 3 litre steel block option. The Mark 1 is one of the prettiest cars ever. Mine was the Mark 3, so it was the least good looking of them, but the Mark 1 just looks, well, it's just I always thought that it hasn't happened yet, but I always figured they would stop making cars that were pure fuel efficient shapes and just make a car that is a modern car that looks like a 68 Ford Mustang or a Capri. It's like, okay, so instead of getting 50 miles to the gallon, you're only going to get 40, but it's got modern brakes, a modern engine, and it's just this impractical shape. I wish they would get that way. I wish they would. Hey, Tony, I'm Mitsubishi. I don't even know. I assume, is it a Celica? Because I used to have a computer game called Celica. It's like, the only time I've ever actually gone for drives for fun was when I had the Capri, and it was like, where are you going? I'm going for a drive. I just went up the hills and just went for a drive, and the joy was in the driving because it was fun to drive, unlike every modern car, which is like it's designed to be super sticky to the roads and all that. The Capri was like pure, hey, if you don't pay attention, you're going into that field at just a normal shitey wee bend. You've got to slow down, otherwise you crash. Fantastic. I know, but the problem with JP, the problem with doing guitars is it hurts my delicate, puffy fingers. It's like, oh, I don't know. And it always seems to take skin off my knuckles. And also, the thing with wiring a guitar, stupid. Right, so this guitar would be the equivalent of putting nitrous in a 10-litre engine in your car. I'm not going to be doing 200 miles an hour and possibly die if this fails. Whereas there's an element of death in a car, which I can't bend my head around. I'm not, but I can work on boats. I'm totally happy with that because you're in the water, so it'll always stop. I've just got a thing about driving a car with something I've done myself. I do need to change the oil and the filters on my wee Panda. I don't do that. You live in the desert, you all have the classic cars because they don't rust away. I mean, okay, clutches still burn out, brakes go and stuff like that, but they're replaceable. Whereas here, it's like there's so few cars kicking about from the 80s, even the 80s. I mean, mind you, the government did a thing a few years ago. I'm not getting political here, but it was like you traded in. You got a minimum of £2,000 for trading in your old car because old cars are sort of had bad emissions and stuff like that. So basically, that was maybe 10, 15 years ago. So at that time, anyone who had a car that was 10 or 20 years old would go, well, my car's kind of a bit rusty. I'll get the £2,000 grant and then buy myself a new car. So all the cars just basically disappeared. So it's pretty rare to see anything even as old as my Land Rover, which was an M reg, so 95. You very, very rarely see anything more than about 15, 20 years old on the streets here at all. Oh. And lots of swearing. Land Rover was priced off the road for us common people. Yes, but the one I had, I don't want to talk about it. The one I had was because it was an M-Reg one. It didn't have a CPU in it, which meant you could fix it yourself. Also, the road tax on it was 250 quid, not 500 quid like it was for anything up to 2013 or £800 for anything after that. I keep seeing, been looking up, or not looking up, they just come up on Facebook Marketplace, even though it's guitars I should be looking at, like Range Rovers and Land Rover Discoveries going for like 500-600 quid. Like, wow, 500-600 quid for that? That's like you start looking at it, you go, all right, I bet it's £1,000 a year road tax and 20 miles to the gallon and £1,000 insurance. And then if something breaks, so it doesn't work. Gia did the Tonewood Dash. My papa, who had a grandpa and a papa and a granny and a grandma, which was a good system they had. Whereas, so I didn't have two grandpas, I had a grandpa and a papa. He had a Granada Gia when I was a wee nipper, and this thing had the walnut dashboard on it. It was a big jobby brown chocolate thing. It might have even had a vinyl roof. It was a huge car, fantastic, but it had all the wooden stuff in it. It was a Gia of some description. Renault 4 with sliding windows and modern engine and box. I'm not sure what a Renault 4 is. I remember what a Renault 5 was. It's the one that's got the flat back on it. Very basic. It's a Japanese people car, which is four-wheel drive, great for off-road, better than a Land Rover. It can't be better than a Land Rover because the Land Rover is the best 4x4x yeah, I love the Land Rover. The thing about the Land Rover, it was my dream car, and it's the fact that I was able to get it as well. The reason I got it was because I was looking at getting a van when I was working for my dad, and it's like vans turned out to be not as cheap as you would think. And I had a Berlingo van, and I was thinking, right, if you had a Berlingo van at the time, it was like there was a 4-wheel drive option. I was like, oh, 4-wheel drive was 3 times the price, which was where the Land Rover sat. So I got the Land Rover. What about the UK got to go electric within a year? Well, yes. The problem, I've heard this argument, I think it was with Jeremy Clarkson, so it was probably not true. It was like how much it costs the environment to get the batteries and the technology to build these cars. But if you build a car, half, X amount of smelting and stuff goes on putting to make the car. And then once you've driven the car for 10 years, that kind of offsets it. Whereas if you're building a new car every year, it's like most of the car's pollution comes from actually melting it to make the thing in the first place. So it's like, yes, we should all be driving older cars, and I think everyone should be driving a Fiat Panda. 2004 scrappage scheme. Don't know. Volvo Estates. My dad had a few Volvo Estates. I would totally buy one. There was one that I saw when was I working in Dunoon? Would that be like 4 years ago? And there was one I drove past every day. It was an H reg, so that puts it at. Well, if we go 4 years ago, let's say 1997, 1998. And then H would be 1990. 2018. So it was 20 or 30 years old and it was still running. Sometimes it wouldn't be there and sometimes it would be there. Check out the Mitsubishi Delica, not a Celica, definitely a Delica. I don't know. Hemp oil cars. My Land Rover doesn't have anymore. Used to could run on chip fat unmolested because it was before they did some thing where basically, like, see the original Land Rovers, the ones that the 2.5 litre petrol engines, they were about 40 horsepower. They could basically run on anything. That was the idea where it's like, oh no, I'm in the middle of Africa. There aren't any petrol stations. We've got whiskey. That's fine. We've got paraffin. Yep, put some of that in, give it a shake. And it would just basically run on anything that was at all flammable. Tar and all that. Beats guitar, cars, guitars, or big tits. I have all three. H-Drive's 1990. So it was 28 years old and it was a Volvo. And it wasn't like, normally when you see a car that's that old, it's a fancy model. You know, it's like, oh, it's the GLS one or whatever. So someone's looked after it. No. This was just a Volvo that someone had just bought and just never washed the thing. It was pure hack it and dirty, but it was just all it had to be. Always hungry running in chip fat. I know, in fact, really, Rob the Drummer's still on, but he ran cars in chip fat because I'd smelt them. The problem is, I don't know what. See the chip fat thing. I worked in a chip shop. I'm not going to name it and shame it, but they said we don't throw out any chip fat because I asked them, I was like, do you throw out chip fat? Because apparently my car can run on it. Is that we don't throw out any? Right. So the way, I'm not saying which chip shop it is, but they would basically have like a big vat thing or two of them, the big stainless steel things, and you would just put in big blocks of, I assume it was lard, in it, melt it. And they would always have the two of these things running. So you would cook like the fish and the sausages and all that in one of them. And once it got a bit cloudy, you would use it for chips instead. Because that would give the chips that sort of orangey and bits of everything that's also been cooked in it. And then basically all you did was just top it up. They never actually took the fat out and did in with it. I assume that's normal. So they didn't actually produce waste fat because the fat would just, they'd put the fat in, they'd fill it up to with 10 blocks of fat. And then as they cooked things, it would go down and they would just put more in and it would go down. So they never actually got rid of any. Volvos and Saabs, yeah. Expensive though. It's like the only alternative fuel station in the USA that will convert your diesel engine to run on chip fat. My Land Rover did run on chip fat without any modifications. I think the only thing you had to do was put a filter on to stop like the actual chips. And when we say chips, we mean French fries. To actually stop that, that was the kind of the only modification you had to do, so you didn't have actual chunks of fish and stuff going into it. You had to put like a mesh thing on it. No acceleration with chip fat, only works for diesel as its compression isn't a spark of petrol. That makes sense. Yeah, mine was a diesel. Pimp wagon. We're totally out my comfort zone talking about cars. I don't remember any. I'll give you my entire car history. First car was a Ford Orion 1.4 petrol. Then I had an ex-company car from my dad's company. Then I had a Ford Orion 1.8 diesel, and then a Ford Escort 1.8 diesel. Then I had a Astra 1.6 diesel estate. Then I had a Citroen Berlingo 1.4 NA diesel, which had no power whatsoever, so you used to drive it full throttle the whole time. Then I bought the Land Rover. Then I acquired my grand's old Corsa, ran it into the ground, acquired my wee brother's old Panda, ran it into the ground, acquired my own Panda, ran it into the ground, and currently I'm on a black Panda. What's going on next week? Next week we've got quite a lot of BC Rich coming up. I've finished off my fuzz pedals video as well, but my pal from T-Gun Music, who was on earlier on, he's probably gone away now because I'm drunk, gave me some more fuzzes. So I've got another 3 or 4 fuzzes, plus I've got my own fuzzes, so I'm going to do some more Fuzz Thursdays. I had one car, and for New York City, I didn't drive, I took the train. Our trains are terrible, not getting political, our trains are awful, but see, when I was in China, and it's like you could get the train, and it was like 20 pence and all that. Like, what? It's like cost us £8 to get from here into town. That SG is a 90s one. I'm about to wrap up. This is we're trying to end on guitars. I bought this in about 1998, 1999, when I was like 18 or 19. Since I got it, the headstock's gone that cracky way. Wow, that's got dusty. You can't see it because of the dust, but it started to sort of crack a little bit. Ebony fingerboard, coated in red tone plastic. And since I bought this, I have never bought another SG, because this is the one I wanted. So, like, of all the guitars that you could get from when I started playing the guitar, we're talking about 3 years later, I bought the guitar I wanted, which was this one. Big scratch plate, red, that's fine. And so I've never bought another SG, which kind of makes it so a bit different about how many Strats I've got and how many other things. It's like the SG was just like, no, that's the one. And it's like, I've never played a better one. I've played plenty of SG standards and stuff like that, but they're not better. They've just got more bling on them, more tone plastic. Let's see an old BC Rich. It depends where you go for old. I mean, argue it's 83. Yeah, that's old. When you mean an original BC Rich, they were always stupid expensive. But from everything I've ever read, these are far closer to a real BC Rich, as in the ones that the guy in Meatloaf was using and stuff like that, than 70s BC Rich. But I mean, I think they're just like how much money you got to pay for them. So much. I bet you they're amazing. I think they were always very expensive. I mean, I think, to be honest, it's one of those things, kind of like Schecter guitars now. They used to be really expensive when you looked them up on eBay and stuff like that, and now there aren't any. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure it's so expensive that if you want one, it really is a case of finding someone who's got one and offering them 20 grand for it. I mean, I don't know what the original BC Riches are worth, but you very rarely see them for sale. Even when it's like, the thing is now, when you see like a modern USA one, or one that's say in the last 10 years and it's 5 grand, you just actually get to see them in the store, the original BC Riches. I don't really remember. I never. The thing is, I never started playing guitar till was I still at school. I think I was in the last year of school when I picked up my first guitar. So I never really had that. I was like 18 or something when I played the guitar. So I never really had that being 14, 15, 16. That's when I was listening to Sabbath and Zeppelin. And that was what was important. It wasn't until later on that I started maybe wanting to be part of being able to play that. I wish I'd spent more time in guitar shops. We only really had one good one in Glasgow by the time I got there. There was no option for nowadays that the youngsters can look up any guitar they want. Whereas back when I was, we're talking 22 years ago, or whatever, 23 years ago, there wasn't really an option to have a look at. I didn't know what any of these guitars were. It was only dependent on what they had in the shop. So that was all you could see, was the current year's models. You'd maybe occasionally have 1 or 2 second-hand ones, but you didn't know any of this stuff. Started at 10 years old. In some ways, I wish I had, but in some ways, if I had, I don't know if I would have taken to it quite as mad as I did. Because I did have a few pals, kind of the first few bands I was in, were I don't know if they were made to take music at school, but they did piano and trumpet and all these things. And they were always fantastic musicians, but they didn't have any passion for it because it was kind of, I don't know, like work, like schoolwork, as opposed to me, who was like, it was purely for pleasure. It didn't have a Oh, yeah, I'm almost about giving up here, man. I'm not quite finished my bucket. I was going to have to again. I'm having to try and drink the whole bucket now. Night Civet, I can't believe you're still up. Wow, and you've been listening to me and trying to work out all this stuff. 90 Schecters are great also. I'm sure they are, but they don't have the proper Fender headstock. The 90s one. Going to the local guitar shop when I was 16, seeing US made Fenders and Gibsons was like working into heaven. Yeah. I do remember it being like pure. I wasn't really aware of there being anything other than like a Gibson. So I suppose it must be still be folk like that. I wasn't really. It was like pure. It's a real Gibson. That was it. It didn't really matter which Gibson it was, or it's a real Fender. It didn't really matter which Fender it was because I wasn't really sure. Yeah. Catch you later, Jez. Oh, yeah. I'm just winding up. I'm tempted to just try and tan the rest of this bottle while I'm on, but I mean, last time I did that, I nearly passed out. Look, actually, I have my 2009 Squire Bullet. That's not a bad one to start with. Get one that works. The problem with these things is it's like this Squire Bullet, I knew how to fix it and make it play really well. Not necessarily everyone's going to think that. I mean, to say that, it played all right. It wasn't one that you weren't going to learn. If you were going to learn a guitar, you could easily learn this, apart from the fact it's pink, which is obviously very not cool. Tony Collett, Malco, who's your favourite guitarist you've seen live? Oh, I hear you, JP. I will see how far I get through a Sabbath song, drunk. But yeah, who are my favourite guitarists I've seen live? Well, my favourite guitarists, Tony Iommi, John Fogerty, Ritchie Blackmore, Brian May. At present, that's who's hitting me would be my favourite guitar players. I've seen all of them live. So Shift out for the Foo Fighters is on, but maybe. I don't even know who that is. I know he must be the other guy. I know Dave Grohl and Pap Smear. It's got to be Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi's Tony Iommi's the reason I play guitar. There was two people that are the reason I play guitar: Tony Iommi and Noel Gallagher. Tony Iommi because I thought he was an absolute legend. Noel Gallagher because I thought he was better than him, even though I'd never played the guitar before in my life. Schenker, Page, Rory Gallagher, Brian May, and Tony. Well, that's not too bad. I was watching someone sent me a video of Rory Gallagher the other night, and it was he was playing a choral sitar, and it was absolutely kick-ass amazing. Rory Gallagher, one that kind of puts me off a bit because you always think, oh, it's kind of blues, but the albums I've got, he's not blues at all. Well, he's not blues at all, but it's much more interesting than the blues. It's kind of maybe blues based, but it's pure psychedelic and poppy and awesome. I do like that. I don't know who Michael Rother is and Bo Diddley. We're going old school here. Back in the day, my girlfriend had a car the size of a boat. Yeah, space. So I've got to neck this, and then well, it was a good Fogerty is one of my favourite guitarists. The thing that you don't realise about Fogerty is it's like how amazing that he wrote so many songs that are just major chords. I did the job in the city, working for the man every night and day. But I never saw you get out of the city, working at the way they might have been. The wheels keep on turning, from and keep on learning, rolling on the river. There's all dead easy chords, which pure blows my mind. How good it is. So, think of a Sabbath song that I can probably play all of it. What about Tomorrow's Dream? Oh no, we play that in the studio, but it's a different key. I'll just play it in the bad key. That was the first song I could play all the way through, including the solo. And how far am I going to get through it? Tomorrow with fire. You're gonna take a bite of my hand. But I'm a good sorrow and heartache. But don't you let you know when I'm dead. And sadness fills my days. The time to fade away. And one tomorrow's dream. Reality to me. Every night in the day that you see me, every morning got the beat in my heart. Oh, baby, tomorrow and party. Oh, baby, don't you know where I'm from? Rock on, everyone. Just to catch up. Dinosaur Juniors, don't know them. Sorry. We've caught up. Rocking, so that was a really bad version of Tomorrow's Dream by Black Sabbath, but I haven't played it probably. I played it on the bass recently, but not played it on any guitar. Drank a whole bottle of Bucky. Pretty steaming. Drunk a like if you haven't. I'll see you during the week. Hold on, one more. I met Noel Gallagher before he was known. And cheers, Stephen. Thanks, Ollie, for the 2,000 subs. It's fantastic. And the fact that I'm sitting here talking to like 20 or 30 folk, it's just ridiculous. I can't bend my head around it. I'm really starting to look forward to it, though. It's like no plan at all. I'll turn up, I'll play this guitar, and I'll just tan a bottle of Bucky, because I did. That is a proper whole bottle of Bucky tanning. I love you all. Fantastic. Thanks so much for the subs and everything. And I'll see you. Oh, maybe I might not be on next week. I'll be on during the week, but I might not be able to do the live stream. I'm not sure. I shall catch up. If not, it might even be from a different location. Rock on. Love you all. Catch you later. And end.